So
Okay.
recording is started, and I will just be a minute or so. I'm looking for something to talk about. All right.
Attackers incoming.
Take your medicine.
Sorry, I didn't think of my volume turn up a little bit. All right.
Name.
Nicely.
I just threw it there, like because they were all like grouped up, thinking like maybe I would get
Yeah.
someone.
Mhm. All right. So
Oh, I do have. Sorry, I do have a question for
yep.
you. Because I was reading your bio on Fever. I wanted to ask, do you stream? Because I
Um.
tried to find your Twitch and couldn't.
Yeah, I do not currently stream. I have attempted to stream in the wild past, but nothing that is currently going on or probably will be going on in the near future. So answer no,
Okay.
no, not really.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All good. All right. Be careful about here. We reload when we have 10. Like not a major thing, minor. But here we reload when we have 10 ammo and we have a bunch of people who are critical and need us, especially Reinhardt, and then Genji's also critical. And we end up reloading here when we should be in the middle of healing them. So watch reloading when there's things to be doing with your ammo.
I have big issues with reloading. I do it unconsciously, and
Yeah.
mostly at very bad moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's really, when it comes to reloading, you reload essentially anytime you have a lull in time where there's nothing to do, where there's nobody to shoot at, nobody to heal, etc., right? Or you turn around the corner for a second where you can't heal anybody, those sort of scenarios. And then, of course, if you don't have any ammo left. But besides that, we can get into the application process later on, probably. Because we'll definitely be able to go over that, and then that can probably help a little bit as
Rendezvous at my
knowing how to
position.
break bad habits is
Let's
something
get
we'll
you back in the
discuss.
fight.
Okay.
My ultimate is charging.
I will keep you here.
Here it comes.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
All right. Thinking over a couple things right now, but we'll bring it up in a second.
My ultimate is ready.
Heroes never die.
وريهم قوتك.
Okay, so noting a couple things here. So firstly, I guess let's discuss yeah, okay, let's discuss that one first. So generally speaking, ultimates that are used first get more value than ultimates that are used second. So for example, right? The fight begins here. They use nano. We have nano. They have nano. They use nano first. They nano. I don't even know who they nano. They use nano Reinhardt or something like that, right? Reinhardt gets a bunch of kills. They either win the fight or just are at a heavy advantage. And now we try to nano someone, and now whoever we nano, let's say we get nano Genji, well now Genji's gonna have less team support, and we could have already lost the fight, or we could have even died before we got a chance to ult, or even Genji could have died before we get a chance to ult. So generally speaking here, because they nano first and because they use ultimates first, they have the advantage. So here in this fight, they initiated first with their ultimates, right? We shattered, but they used tire first, right? Shattered gets a bunch of people, but team's not in position to do anything with it. Here, honestly, you could have, if you saw Shattered, if you see Reinhardt running in and Reinhardt's critical, maybe you could nano him. But Genji also has Blade here, but so again, nanoing Genji would also be really good. So really either or. And then they also nano, right?
وريهم قوتك.
While we're valking, so they kind of use their ultimates more effectively, and they use before we're using ours, and then therefore we don't even have a chance to use ours because we've already lost the fight. So that's one thing to notice. Generally speaking, then my recommendation would be ult at the start of fights, and then that's the best time to be ulting usually. Mid fights, it's generally okay to ult, and then late fight, it's very situational and when you should ult, and then in between fights, it's very rare when you should be ulting. So that's the first thing. Now moving on, another thing I'm noting is that I'm trying to think of yeah. So two things with positioning. All right, so we're gonna go over a little bit of positioning here on Ana, and we're gonna go over a couple different things. So, all right. So when it
Never
comes to
stop
positioning,
fighting for
right?
what you believe
First thing I'm
in.
noticing is that we're sitting a little bit far away from our team. Um, so in general, a lot of players when they play Ana, they tend to think of Ana like a sniper because her gun's a sniper, right? And then I have to come in and I say no, Ana as a character is not a sniper because mainly the fact that her ability usage is not long ranged, and that's why she doesn't like to sit at long ranges. So your gun is very capable of shooting all the way back here at people, but then we're gonna have a very tough time doing anything with our abilities from this range, right? And we're also gonna struggle with things a lot of times with like being able to keep visibility on our team and things of that sort. So note that in our game, we weren't all the way across the map like this, but we were at a further range from the enemy team and even from our team, and then that just means that we're not able to land our abilities as effectively because generally speaking, projectiles, right? So things that have travel time are much harder to hit at ranges because they have a travel time, and by the time it gets there, they've already moved out of the way. Or if you throw a heal nade or anything like that, right? By the time the heal nade reaches, they've already died, right? Or they've already taken a bunch of extra damage. So ability usage is going to suffer. Visibility may also suffer, depends on the range that we're talking about. So generally speaking, when it comes to Ana's ranging, her preference range, where does she usually like to be standing, in relation to your team, it's usually a close to medium range. And then in relation to the enemy team, it's usually a medium to close range. So to differentiate, it's team close, but it can be medium. Enemy team, it's medium, but it can be close, right? And then situationally long ranges, right? That's usually how you want to be positioning on Ana. Now, additionally, two other things to go over, kind of similarly. One thing. This kind of gets into what you call the checkboxes of Ana. We're not going to go over all of them right now, but just note that we want to make sure that we're able to see our team, right? That's the first checkbox of Ana specific positioning is, can you see your team? Can you heal them? Are you able to do anything to them? In a good chunk of the fight, we weren't able to see in particular Reinhardt, right? We did not have line of sight, and we don't have line of sight over your team. You cannot heal them, right? That's a very basic function of your kit as a support. So we want to be able to see our team, and then you also have to think through not just can I see them now, but will I be able to see them in the future, right? So, if, for example, my teammate's right here. What if he walks to the left, right? Will I still be able to see him as easily? If they walk to the left, well, then that means that I have to run all the way up here, right, to be able to see them, and then in that time they could have died, right? So that's kind of what happened to Reinhardt as well when he pushed in and got aggressive, and he ended up dying. And part of that is because we didn't have line of sight on him, and we weren't playing up with him. So that's just a couple things to know. And then, yeah, and then another thing to note as well here is your scope usage, and then after that, we're gonna hop back into the replay. So, scope usage. So far, I've seen a lot of unscoping, which is not a bad thing, but generally speaking, you have three types of scopes, right? We're gonna focus in on two. We're gonna ignore the third one for now, but it's unscope, scope, and quick scope. We're not gonna focus too much on quick scope for the moment, unless we need to, but generally speaking, right, unscoped is going to be used at closer ranges because unscoped is going to give you more visibility, faster movement. It's going to allow you to essentially just, I mean, those are the main two things, right? And then it's also projectile by nature, whereas when you scope in, now you're much slower. Your visibility gets zoomed in, and your sensitivity gets lowered. All of these make it beneficial for hitting shots at a range. Additionally, to hit scan shot rather than a projectile, which again makes it much more beneficial for a range. It makes it so that you're going to be more accurate at a range. So far I've seen a lot of unscoping. If I were to just put a quick percentage on it, I would say maybe you were like 80% unscoping, 20% scoping, something along those lines. Whereas you probably want to be more like 45% on each, and then 10% on quick scoping is really the ratios that you're kind of looking for. So ranges on squishy targets, so it's a non-tank, 10 meters, right, is when you're going to be unscoping. Past that is scoping. On a tank, since they have bigger hitboxes, you can move it up to 15 meters, and then this is going to be your unscoped range, and then past that's going to be scoped in. So I know we just covered a bunch of different things there. Do you have any questions on any of that? Did it all make sense?
Yeah, it did. I don't have any additional questions because I had like other people tell me the same exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
it's hard to get rid of like bad habits. I know how to
Uh-huh.
quick scope,
Okay.
and I use it. But sometimes like when everyone is taking like a lot of damage, and I'm like more confident in hitting my shots when I'm scoped in, and that's why I do it so much.
Yeah, I was saying from what I saw, you seem to be doing a lot of unscoped shots. On the contrary to scoped in. Though I mean, maybe I only saw a very short period of time, which maybe, we could have seen a little bit more before I got into it. But why don't I mean, it's from what it sounds like you might be struggling with a lot of application. Like you have the head knowledge, but putting it into play seems to
Yeah.
maybe be a struggle of yours. So why don't we discuss that? Because that's something I like to go over with everybody that I do sessions with. So when it comes to working on things that you're trying to get better at, right? You get better at these things the exact same way that you get better at anything else that you're trying to work on. And that is that while you're playing, you're going to actively focus on the thing you're trying to work on. So let's pick something. Let's just say reloading, right? Very simple, very tiny, right? So you're trying to work on it. That means that you're not going to autopilot. You're not going to just play to play. And contrary to popular belief, you're not going to purely play to win. Instead, you're going to play to improve, right? Because when you play to win, that just ends up leading to stagnation. Whereas if you play to improve, you end up winning more. Now, what that actually looks like within your gameplay is you are going to go and you're going to hop into a game and you're going to think to yourself, reload, 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 right? Giving yourself a constant stream of reminders to think, I should be paying attention to my reload, right? And when you constantly pay attention to your reload, well, then you might not end up reloading. Like, if you're actively watching your reloading, you're probably not going to press it every 2 seconds, right? If you're reminding yourself every 2 seconds. So, therefore, your reload habit will be, you'll start to work on it. That's how you break bad habits. That's also how you build good habits. Once you have started working on, once you work on it, it'll build it as a positive habit. Once it builds as a positive habit, then it's not something you really need to worry about as much, because then it just comes naturally now. It's not something you need to put attention into, and then you can move on to something else to work on. Now, I would recommend don't try to do everything all at once, because that will get overwhelming, right? That'll just be too much. Instead, focus on one category of things, or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. Additionally, I'm gonna add in the advanced, like this is getting more to the advanced end, but like I said, it sounds like this is something that you need to work on, so we'll go over the advanced aspect of it. But yeah, so to take it one step further, another thing to note is that when it comes to working on things, you can work on multiple different things if they're very unrelated. You just can't if they're kind of overlapping. So let me define that a little bit better for you. Take ultimate usage, for example. Ultimate usage, if we were to take ultimate usage and positioning, right? Positioning you're using constantly throughout the entire game, right? If you were to focus on positioning, you'd be focusing on it the entirety of every single game, pretty much, right? Whereas ultimate usage, you only have to think about ultimate usage for what, 10 seconds every 2 minutes, right? It's not that much in comparison to your positioning. Whereas maybe let's add in another category. If you were to focus on positioning and awareness, well, now awareness is also something that happens all the time. So it'd be very overwhelming to try to work on your positioning and awareness at the same time, just because it's way too much for your brain to focus on, right? But if you are working
A
on
side
your positioning and your ultimate usage, that's a lot more manageable because really you can just kind of swap between them. So that's something else to keep in mind, is that if they're very unrelated and they don't overlap, you can focus on multiple things. Just don't do too many things. I wouldn't do like ult usage and positioning and ability usage and right. Don't do that just because that
One at a
becomes too much.
time,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, one at a time, or like I said, if they don't overlap, then you can add in if they don't overlap. Okay,
Okay.
so any questions on any of that? That makes sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. No questions.
Okay, glad to hear it. So let's hop back into your game. Okay, so yeah, we'll take a look. I think we were right around here because we just got our ult.
Where does it hurt?
Uh-oh. We just ended up getting shot by them.
Where does it hurt?
Stink. Guess in that situation, maybe be aware of where the enemy team is, because we don't seem to be aware of the fact that there's a Zarya down there. And then we don't necessarily need to even be walking over to Genji. We could even be like back here and not needing to kind of walk more into dangerous territory. So we're not really respecting positioning there, which we can get in more into depth if we see more of it. Don't need to go super in depth off of just that.
Yeah, I think I walked there because there was the enemy Reinhardt charged in that little room on the left, and I tried to avoid him, then went high ground before that.
Um, you're talking about this room over here?
Yeah, I know. I think the enemy Reinhardt was charging in or something. They did push the enemy team, so I was in a bad position, and then I went into the little room. Yeah, to
Oh,
avoid
okay.
him.
So you saw Reiner coming up underneath you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we didn't seem to notice that they pulled back out. So here, when we come up here, we don't check over the edge. We don't listen. So here we're just unaware of our surroundings. So that gets a little bit into audio awareness as well as visual awareness of our surroundings. Because Reiner actually wasn't behind us; he was to the side of us, right? Which awareness changes your whole decision making there. So we can, once again, we can get a little bit more into awareness as we go on, because we'll look to see if we can find more situations for it.
Огонь по готовности!
Get back in the fight.
Got you good as new.
Alright, so we still have our Nano Blade here.
I will keep you healed.
Barrier is unstable.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Okay, so we go for the Nano Blade. Nice, I like that we're using it early. That's good. We will probably be reviewing something else in a second. Okay. Alright, so now to talk about Junkrat. So, this once again comes into awareness and then also just some critical thinking. Where has their Junkrat been positioning the entirety of this entire game?
On the high ground behind us.
Yeah,
I think he's now above Ash on the
yeah.
right.
Yeah, right now that's their Ana as well, right? So he's been basically on our high on the entirety of every fight. Yet we're coming out of spawn and we're not prepared for him to be there. We're not looking for him to be there. We're not paying very much attention to him. So that's something to keep in mind, is that we are not really giving him much thought, right? So in general here, make sure being aware of our surroundings, audio awareness. Let's talk about that real quick. Some settings I'd recommend. Now, everybody has different headset volumes, so this is very subjective, but make sure you have your master volume loud enough. Music volume, I'd probably recommend turning off or down, just because it clutters with your audio. And then I would recommend go and check your headset settings. Check if you have surround sound enabled. And if you do not have it enabled, make sure you go turn it on in game. Or, sorry, if you don't have it as an option to enable, then go in game and turn it on Dolby Atmos for headphones. Now, you could have all those settings great, but you can still have bad awareness if you're not actively listening to your surroundings, making sure you're actively focusing and paying attention to abilities and ultimates and gunshots and footsteps, etc. Right? And then that means that we're noticing Junkrat much, much faster, and rather than reacting to him, we can be predicting that he's there, which would probably help a little bit.
Need healing.
Okay. Now I'm noticing a couple situations here where we are doing over healing. Over healing is just anytime you're trying to heal somebody who's already full HP, right? That really just is going to do a couple things for you. Firstly, it's going to waste your time, right? So here, notice for example how we're aiming at Sigma and Sigma's full HP, right? Therefore, that just becomes wasted shots, wastes our ammo, but even more importantly than that is wasted time, where with that time we're not able to do other things, and that really adds up when it's continuous. One individual shot, not much, but if you're doing that, 5 shots a fight, then that starts to add up a lot. So here we do it on Sigma, then we heal Genji, then we heal. Both of them are full HP. We shoot like three overheal shots there. Baptiste requests healing, but he's actually full HP if we were looking at his health bar. So we shoot like two overheal shots there, and I saw some others earlier, right? So just watch out for that. Nothing incredibly major.
60 seconds remaining. I got it.
I'm on
Go.
fire.
I'll keep you healed.
Objective A captured.
Alright, so
New defense.
let us now talk about ability usage. So when it comes to your ability usage as Ana, it is essentially your carrying potential. It is how you as Ana do enough to win the game even if your team is bad, right? If you were to just sit at choke, right, and you just heal up your team, then and you just go for heal botting, right? You're just healing, 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 healing. You never really have any impact beyond keeping your team in the fight, which isn't very much impact, right? It's not going to be enough to where if your team's not doing stuff, you're able to work past that and carry the fight. And that's what if you're looking to improve, if you're looking to climb and win games, that is how you win, that is how you climb, that's how you improve, is to look to carry your games. And on Ana, that is how you reach your carrying potential. That's how you get so much incredible value on Ana. Now, sleeps, I think we've maybe landed like one or so. And then I'd say almost even more important than sleeps is your nade usage. Now, nade usage, when you land an anti-nade, in a lot of cases, or I guess let's say not say in a lot of cases, but when you land, for example, like a 4, 5, 6 man anti-nade, in a lot of cases, it can be even more powerful than your nano boost, right? So you have an ability that's on a cooldown that has the potential to be more powerful than your ultimate, and so far we have yet to see you use it for anti purposes, right? I haven't seen an anti happen, so that's really important. Is getting anti-nades out there now to emphasize some more on anti-nades. Anti-nades, when you anti someone, you stop them from healing. This is going to open up for kills very easily. It's also, additionally, another way to think of this is it's also creating space and pressure on the enemy team. When you nade them, they now have a choice. Either they can, A, push into you guys and then get melted because they can't heal. B, they can stand still and do nothing and get melted because they're purple. Or C, they can back up, in which case that's probably their best option in a lot of cases. But it also means that now you've just created space, which gives your team room to work with, and now they're also doing less damage because they're backing away, right? So, any way you slice it, Nade is getting you so much value, and we just aren't using it for that. So, generally speaking, Nade is your aggressive ability. Sleep is your defensive ability. Now that can flip flop depending on the situation, but in a lot of cases that's how it works. And we want to be looking to use it for anti purposes. And then healing comes when healing is needed. We can maybe discuss that in a little bit if we see a scenario where I can demonstrate it. But yeah, that's just the way that I'd be thinking about your abilities, because right now it does not seem as though we're putting active effort and thought into how we're using our abilities, and therefore we've gone 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and then we didn't, and then we end up just sitting at choke for a large portion of the fight, and then additionally, we only really got value out of one ability so far. So we will continue to go into more of that as we progress. Any questions on that?
The anti-need. What if
Mhm.
you get an anti and your team doesn't? Because it did happen like a lot. Like it happens a lot in lower elos, where even if you get an anti, the team doesn't push in, and then it gets wasted.
Mhm. So in that case, then you've just gotten damage in, and you have that chance for kills because not every you're not always going to get value with it if you land an anti, right? That's just not going to happen. Is that you can say the same thing with okay, I nano someone. Are they always going to go in and kill stuff? No, right? If you land asleep, are you always going to kill the person? No. If you land an anti, is your team always going to push? No. Okay. So you've gotten damage. You've opened up for a big potential for kills, and then you've also, like I said, you could also create space and negate damage for your team with it, right? And the other thing to think about it, right, is if healing is not necessary. So why don't we just go into the healing aspect of Nade real quick? You use Nade for healing when healing is needed, and more specifically, when your teammates are low and in danger. Not one, not the other, both of them. To differentiate, right? I can be 1 HP and sitting over here and perfectly safe. And I can be in danger and in the middle of their team and be full HP, right? If I am completely safe, there's no reason to nade. If I'm full HP, there's no reason to nade. So therefore, you need both. You need them to be low and in danger. If nobody is low and nobody is in danger, right? Then that means that what are we just going to hold on to the ability and do nothing with it, right? Or are we just not going to do anything with the ability? So it's better to have it out there doing things and having the potential to do things than to not use the ability and just maybe hold on to it until somebody needs it, right? That sort of idea. So did that answer the question a little bit
Yes,
better?
yes.
Okay. So all makes sense. Any others?
No,
Okay.
everything makes sense. Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Mm-hmm. All right.
Saddle up. Get in here. Hello.
I have your back.
The objective must be taken.
Probably could be looking for like sleeps on that hog that can maybe open up for an easy kill on your team, or at least stopping him from doing things to your team, right?
Take
Again,
your medicine.
using kind of sleep defensively for your team is an
This
option
will
there.
help.
That's a situation right there where D.Va is low, D.Va is in danger, and do note that being low does affect your danger level in a lot of cases. But that's a good healing need because she needed the burst healing to stay alive.
The bad guys. Heads up.
I will keep you healed.
Okay. Notice a little bit of overhealing here, so let's look at their health bars,
I will
right?
keep you healed.
Even note that sometimes you could even consider it overheal, depending on the situation. You could even consider it overhealing oh, excuse me, if somebody is like 90% of their health, right? Because if you're only healing 10, 20 HP, then would you not find so much more value looking for an ability, looking for an ultimate, looking to look for somebody else to heal, look for damage, look for some, look at your surroundings, look for something else, right? Reload with that time, right? You have so many other things that can be done with that time. You could even consider it overhealing if somebody's in like just down 10, 20, 30 HP. But that's not to say any and all situations. If you have nothing else to do, if none of those other situations apply, then go for it. If it's in between a fight, go for it. Right. But here D.Va's full HP. Everyone here is full HP, and then McCree's purple. If somebody's purple, same thing applies. It's overhealing and try to heal them. So here we go for like let's count it out, right? Okay, we heal up D.Va,
I
that's
will
good.
keep you
Okay, so
healed.
now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 overheal shots, right?
Don't move.
Right, then those are needed. That's good. Right. Then we go
It's just a
maybe
scratch.
5,
Never
6,
mind.
7. Right, use that time to reload. If nobody really needs it, use it to reload so that we have ammo for when we need it. Right, that's good habits to get into. Here we can identify, okay,
It's just a
the
scratch.
yes,
Never
McCree is
mind.
critical, but is he in danger? Is he in danger? Um, that question maybe gets to I would probably say not really if he's in the middle of your whole team. The only person on the high ground is Zarya around the corner. McCree's in the has people a body block for him. You're gonna heal him up normally, and Baptiste can also heal him up, right? So, answer: does he need nade? I would say it's not the most atrocious nade you could throw, but I'd say also probably doesn't need it, and then therefore you can use it aggressively.
Healing in hand.
You all look like you needed some healing.
Okay, a little bit more over
My
healing.
ultimate is fully charged. Get in there. You're powered up.
Okay.
Get in there.
Me nano Sigma. Do we have anybody better? No, I think that was a decent nano. Not a lot of other options.
Got you good as new.
Okay. We will discuss different ways that you can actually land your abilities more effectively. We will go over that soon here. Though, do note that if you are going to go for a nade, be slightly more ambitious about it. Instead of going for one person, wait for people to group up. Try to go for multiple people. Maybe here as well, maybe we shouldn't have our focus on the Zarya. If Lucio is a much easier target to kill than Zarya, and Lucio also is like one shot here, right? If we throw a nade at Lucio, Lucio dies. We shoot him, he dies. So target on the wrong target, we miss the nade, and then also maybe could be waiting for them to group up further so that we get more people. Because there's a massive difference between getting one person antied versus getting 6 people antied, right? It's not just 6 times the value, it's more like 10 times the value in landing that, right? So you want to, or even, maybe even more than that, right? So you probably want to be looking for bigger nades, look for people to group up, that sort of idea, and then we will discuss soon here how you can actually land those nades better.
لبس البوصة تبقى عروسة.
I am unstoppable. Get in here.
نام.
Okay. Do note that we're not noticing him until he's like right next to us, so we gotta be very careful of that. We weren't really hearing him until after he's already turned the corner and hooked and missed you. That hook it looked like it went through you, so we got a little bit lucky there, right? I think it it looked like it basically went through her face there. Yeah, it was like right in front of us, right? So hogs, just a little bit better, just 100 SR better. That's a dead, right? Because we're not paying attention. So besides that, good sleep. Just make sure paying attention.
You're going to live.
Oh. Make sure that we are watching like Widowmaker sightlines here. Probably mainly, it's the big thing. Watch Widowmaker and where she's shooting from, because we just saw her shoot a couple times, so that's more awareness stuff, is that we saw Widowmaker shooting and we didn't really react to it.
Barrier in place. Get in here.
This will only hurt
Okay.
for a minute.
Big nade, we got 2 people. Right, one of them dies as a result of the nade. We get 2 people. Reinhardt, notice how Reinhardt's now pressured and he needs to hold up his shield the whole time. He's not able to, well, I guess, I mean, like, he doesn't have anything to swing on anyways, but yeah, that's just another note, right? Is that Reinhardt's also under pressure here. He's not really helping his team out, which is also just him being bad. Okay, good job listening. Okay, team should probably be stepping on cart here.
نامي.
Massive sleep.
ده هيكون مؤلم.
Your strike.
Doomfist is the bane of my existence. I have a question later on when we finish this about Doomfist and Genji.
Sure, I mean, you can go ahead and ask it now, because we might not even get to end up
The
finishing this
second
one.
one. Yeah. Because I was waiting to ask you those questions. Like, I'm honestly like very completely utterly lost when I play Ana against Doomfist and Genji.
Mhm.
So hard to sleep the Genji blade, and Doomfist wrecks me more than Genji.
Mhm. Okay.
Like I don't know what to do, and I'm always like miss my sleeps on the Doomfist, and I have a
Mhm.
lot of troubles playing
Yep.
against Doom.
Sure. So when you are up against different characters, you play differently. That is a short way to say that is team comp dictates play style. So whenever you're coming into each game, my recommendation is check tab real quick, check what comp they're running, because that's
I do
very important
that
information. Yeah. So once you
first
do
15 seconds.
yeah, exactly, right. First, that's the first thing you should do. Additionally, recommend press tab in between every single fight of the game, right? At a very minimum, so you can see what did they make swaps, did we make swaps, etc. What ults do we have? Once you understand what comp they're running, it really dictates what you're doing. So, for example, we play against a Widowmaker very differently than if we're playing against a Doomfist, right? Or when we're on with both of them, it's it's even different than when we're not running either of them, right? So when we're up against a Widowmaker, right, we're gonna play, for example, behind a lot more cover. We're gonna make sure we're being very, very careful about giving her line of sight. When we're up against a Doomfist and Genji, you also play differently. How you play is that you want to the big thing is that you want to actively pay attention and watch for where they're coming from. Um, I can't tell you how many times, right? A lot, or I get like just this happens a lot where Doomfist will get on top of the Ana, right? Doomfist comes in, he swoops in, he uppercuts you. You try to go for the sleep, you miss, and then you die. And then the Ana goes, "What could I have done? Right? What could I have
Yes.
done there besides just laying the sleep?" And the answer is know where Doomfist is coming before he's even on top of you, right? If you are only reacting to him, then that sleep's gonna be so hard. It's gonna be so hard to land that sleep if you're reacting to Doomfist because you only have a second before he kills you, right? Same thing with Genji. You only have a second or two before they kill you. But if you know, for example, let's just say we're walking down main and we know Doomfist is top left, or we're just actively watching for him, so we're checking top left, top right, behind me, right? We're being aware of our surroundings because we know they're on a Doomfist, right? Then that means Doomfist pops up top left, right? I hear him, I'm watching for him, and you sleep him the second he peeks, right? Which is so much easier than trying to do it when he's in the middle of comboing you, right?
Yes.
When you're
Mhm.
reacting last second. Additionally, you can also say other things, right? I would also note, positioning wise, stick inside of your team a lot more. Play basically inside of them when they're on flanky characters or divey characters, because then your team can protect you. If you're isolating yourself, then that makes it much, much easier for them to come and kill you. Whereas if you stick with your team, then you can get healing, you can get tanking, etc. Right? How is Doomfist going to punch you if you're inside of your Reinhardt, right? Or how is he going to be able to damage you if you're, if you're being healed up, if you're being tanked for, body blocked for? Yeah, you can also play near health packs, and then also just generally speaking, practice your dueling and landing sleeps and putting effort into making sure your sleeps are landing, as some other things. Does that help answer the question?
Yes. I believe the same applies to Genji and Monkey.
Yes, pretty much. It's
Yes.
flanky
Okay.
and flanky and divey characters. It becomes more and more extreme. The further along you go. Another thing to note as well that you can do is intentionally save your abilities depending on potential for pressure and pressure. Right. So pressure is how many people are on top of you. So there's potential for pressure. So for example, there's a difference between having nobody who can get on you versus having a full dive. Right. And then right in the middle is maybe they have just a Genji or a Tracer, right, or a Doomfist, right?
I usually switch if they have a lot of dive.
Yeah, which maybe isn't even fully necessary if you're playing correctly, because Ana's not necessarily incredibly bad against dive if you're playing her right. It's just mainly knowing how to play her right. So, like I said with abilities, right? Let's say that they are on nothing. Well, then why would you need to hold on to your abilities? Just launch them out there every other second, right? Just go bam, 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 abilities, 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 right? Let's say they're on one Doomfist here right now. Only character on their team that can really pressure us is Doomfist, right? Doomfist, one Doomfist. If he's how often this game would you say Doomfist has been on top of you?
Too many times.
Too many
Like,
times? I would say I only saw him on us maybe like once.
we're
Yeah.
talking about this
This
game.
one, this one currently. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
you meant in general.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, this game.
Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah.
Like not a lot, but he. I don't know if it's because he was bad or like I had a game today when he was on top of me like every single
Yeah.
second.
But then note that there's a difference between now this Doomfist and that other Doomfist where in this game we're under a lot more pressure. So maybe if Doomfist is on us constantly, we might want to save sleep specifically for Doomfist, right? Unless of course, you know, the Doomfist, we know Doomfist is dead, we know that he's nowhere near us. Maybe we can use it if we see a fantastic sleep, right? And a super high value sleep, etc., right? So it's not an end all be all, but maybe we can hold on to sleep. Now, let's say they're on a full dive. Okay, that's more potential for killing us. We might want to maybe hold on to both of our abilities because really, what are you gonna nade if they're only grouping up when they're on top of you, right? And you also get self healing out of it, and you can sleep them when they come in, right? So holding on to both of your abilities might be good. But if they're never diving you ever, well, even though when they're on a full dive, well, then maybe you can just use both of your abilities because you're under no pressure, right?
Yes, understandable.
Yeah, so that's another thing you can add in there into that repertoire as well, right? Now let's real quick talk about landing abilities. So we're gonna be talking about some of that. Um,
I'm
so,
very bad at them. I've been like training my aim recently,
Never
like
stop
using a
fighting
lot
for
of
what you
aim
believe
trainer
in.
hmm?
because I miss a lot of my shots. Miss also my nano the wrong person.
Hmm. Yeah. Missing nanos, real quick settings. Have you adjusted your nano sensitivity at all?
I tried.
Hmm. What?
I've tried
Yeah.
using also the nano boost requires target
Yeah.
confirmation, but
Hmm.
I didn't like that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I
Probably wouldn't recommend
wouldn't.
that.
Yeah, but I did try lowering it,
Hmm? What's
and
it
then
currently at?
now it's at 100.
As 100 still? So you didn't like it when you lowered it?
Yeah, maybe because I didn't play with it that much. It's like lowering your sensitivity in game. You like kind of like need some time to get used to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, so I mean, like, I'd probably recommend turning it down. So you're aware of what it does, then? Yeah, it makes it so
Yes,
that it's
I
more
know, I
accurate.
know, I
So
know.
I probably recommend lowering it even just a little bit, right? Because it's going to be more accurate. But the big thing, really big thing, is actively watching and being aware of your teammates because your teammates will not be able to steal it unless you let them steal it, right? Unless there's the odd situation where there's a
A boost
Lucio
feel
like
into
all
them.
over here and then Lucio just jumps in your face at the last second. But in most cases, you're going to be able to hear them and see them,
This is
especially if
you,
you're looking
student.
around and you're watching and being aware of your surroundings. And in that case, all you have to do is just, same thing with like a nade. If you're trying to get a nade around people, is just walk to the left, walk to the right, right? So we're trying to land the nade, we're trying to land the nano, right? Right, left, we can back up, we can walk through them, we can wait for them to move, right? We have a lot of options. Just being aware of the fact that they're there, right? So
You
nade
need
usage,
adult
right?
supervision.
Couple things here. Firstly, when you're trying to use nade, don't try to hit people directly. If I try to hit someone directly and I miss, go sailing past them into Narnia. It doesn't do anything. If I try to hit the floor in between people, then even if I miss, I still hit them. And additionally, this means that they cannot body block. They cannot body block it from hitting people around them. So he stops it, and now it only hits that one bot, not everybody. Whereas if they're in the middle, the floor in between all of them, then that means that I get everybody and doesn't body block it, and it's a very wide radius, right? So throw at the floor, right? One thing.
Splash damage,
Yeah, splash damage.
like soldier helix rockets.
Yeah, except for Soldier Helix rockets, you want to hit people directly because you do more damage directly versus indirectly. But with Soldier, I would say rather than the floor, you'd aim at their feet for the same principle. So you'd aim at the feet, so you do get the direct. But if you miss, then it hits the floor, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's more. Okay. Um,
Age and beauty.
quick
I have your vote.
tech for longer range nades. When you are throwing a long range or medium range nade, this only works if you're scoped in. When you scope in, line up your ultimate charge with somebody and you throw a nade, and that nade's gonna hit them from any height or any range that you're at. If you're on the same footing with them or they're a little bit below us here, we're actually gonna line up our Q with them rather than our ult charge, right? And then that nade is gonna hit them, right? So that's something that's gonna help with long range, medium range, though not really needed at a close range. Let's next talk about obstacles. So when it comes to nades and sleeps, you have a lot of obstacles. You have teammates, you have shields, you have tanking abilities, you have walls, obviously, and you have tanks themselves who can body block you from hitting people around them. So let's talk about how do you get it around those. Well, Firstly, teammates, we just talked about that. Be aware of them. Shields, right? And tanking abilities for both of those, we have a lot of options. We can wait for them to break, wait for them to go down, wait for them to die, wait for them to drop the shield or the ability, right? Wait for somebody, for example, we can hit somebody outside of the shield, right? We can hit this person over here. We can look to go above and to the left and to the right of the shield. We can, there's just a lot of different options, right, when it comes to using your abilities into them. We just want to be actively aware and not just tossing it straight into the shield without thinking through it, right? Additionally, it still is difficult to get it through all of those things if we are, because there's just so many obstacles, right? It's like 4 things to think about. There's a lot of stuff. And a very easy way to bypass all of that is through positioning. So if we are standing here, and our whole enemy team is standing there, right? And they're all looking at us and shooting at us, and this is what you call the main angle, right? From here, we have to throw nade through our team, shield, abilities, tanks, right? And by the time it gets there, something's blocked it, right? But if we just take 2 seconds, well, now we've just instantly gotten around everything. Instantly around their team, shields, tanks, abilities, right? Straight to the back line, and this is what you call an off angle. Off angles are very safe, they're very fast, and it's going to get you around all those obstacles, and they're typically going to be around like 50% of the time, right? Another example, enemy team, our team, main angle, right? We back up, we heal our team, we see they're okay, they're all good, they're full HP, okay? We come up to high ground, instantly got around everything, right? Very safe, very fast, straight around every single obstacle, straight to the back line, right? So, off angle, it's going to be a really great way to land your abilities. So when you're thinking through positioning, 3 check boxes of Ana positioning, we've already talked about 2 of them. 3 of the check boxes of Ana positioning is 1, can you see your team? 2, can you land abilities, off angling? And 3, can the enemy team see you? If you're in the middle of healing up your team, right, don't stand here, because then they can see you. Stand over here, get around the corner, right? And then you can still heal up your team and you're good, right? So that's 3 things to keep in mind when positioning as Ana. So that all makes sense?
Yes,
You
it
need
does.
adult
Okay.
supervision.
Glad to hear it. And additionally, also actively paying attention and I would recommend don't just kind of go like a lot of Ana players, right? They'll go throughout their gameplay. They'll go shoot, shoot, pew, pew, and then nade, and then pew, pew, and then sleep, sleep, or no, shoot, 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 and then sleep, right? And it's very sudden. It's very abrupt. You're not really putting a ton of thought and effort and time into it. Even if you think that you're thinking about it, you're not really thinking about it, right? Whereas something I might recommend is take like a good 4 seconds to think about how you're using your ability before you're even using the ability. It can be, for example, it can be on cooldown, and it's on 10 seconds, right? And then we're shooting stuff, we're doing stuff. We see, okay, I'm on 6 seconds. Okay, I'm looking for nade. I'm lining it up. Okay, I see 2 people. I'm lining up the nade, and then the moment it comes off a cooldown, I'm using it, right? That gets it out there sooner, but then also means that you're actually thinking about it, right? It means that you're putting the time and effort into it seconds before you're using it, not just half a second before you're using it, which gives you a lot better of a chance to actually land it. So I think that is about it. You seem like someone who maybe is a questions person. Do you have questions before we get into like our review and wrap up portion?
No, you have answered all of my questions.
Okay.
And you have already covered what I wanted to ask anyways.
Okay, sounds good. That's usually good when that happens. We're gonna maybe go over like 1-2 more minutes and then we'll hop into the end.
Traveling to Hanamura. Ready?
Meteor strike.
Go. I keep you here.
Okay, that's the end of the round. All right.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine. أنا هاخد بالي منك.
Yeah, so that nade tech might help with like landing like nades in that situation.
I'm way too hasty with my abilities. I panic a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, so definitely thinking through this better would probably deliver some results. Okay. So, a lot of Ana players like to position down here, and this is actually pretty decent positioning. Now, it's also at the same time bad positioning in certain situations.
Yeah.
So when this is bad positioning, is probably gonna be when the fight is happening all up here, right? Because now you're not able to see, you're not able to use your abilities, you're not able to really do much from that bottom right? So from here, this is really bad positioning now because of where the fight's happening. Now, let's say that they're on like a dive or a spam. They maybe look like they're more spread out. Maybe they're coming from left, main, right? That sort of thing. You know that they're going high ground. You know your team's not planning on pushing in. That's the case where the bottom right's perfectly fine, right? Because then you can see all along the high grounds. But if the fight's happening in that room or on the very top left, then you're not really going to be able to participate from down here, right? So that's something else to think and keep in mind. All right. That's unfortunate. Make sure you're not running into the shots. You could even go and sit into the corner here rather than just trying to run off into the spawn as an option. Try to get out around the corner.
This is going to hurt.
Okay. Oh, snap. We're running out of time. Okay, so real quickly, then we're going to do a review. Go over the main points and then wrap up the session. So, Ana, ability usage. You just talked about a ton
Never
with ability
stop
usage. Put
fighting for
effort,
what
put
you
thought,
believe in.
use it. Healing need happens when they're low in danger, right? Other than that, look for anti-nades. You can find a lot of value out of that when you're using it consistently like that. Additionally, put thought, effort into it. Scope tech, land at the ground. And off angle, etc. Right? Nade is usually more aggro, sleep is a little bit more defensive. Use them, adjust how you're using them based off of what comp they're on, etc. Right? There's a lot of things in that. Remember, it's your carrying value. It's how you get a ton of value on Ana, and we're slightly neglecting it. Moderately neglecting it. So to put that, let's see. I would probably put that at a low end of a medium-high priority for you to work on. Ultimate usage, I didn't see a ton that needed work. There's like one fight to be held on to it. Maybe we could have used it a little bit earlier in that fight. Besides that, didn't see many other issues with it, and we didn't see a ton of ults in general. So overall, low priority, maybe low to medium, somewhere along that line.
I wanted to
Um,
ask a
mhm.
question regarding the ultimate usage because I did hold on to my alt when we first started, like before we took the first point, and it's something I personally do not like doing. But I was doing it like saving it for my Genji,
Yeah.
and he was also taking it too long, so that's why I first
Mhm.
initiated nanoing him. He didn't
Yeah.
call it out. He didn't try to set up for it, and
That.
I felt the need that we need to use it
Yep.
because it's been too long
Yes. So
without using.
I've
Uh,
go ahead.
I wanted to ask, for example, usually if I have a Genji or let's say a soldier, use it like for the, the nano visor, nano blade. However, I wanted to use it for my Reinhardt when he died first
Lost my
in the early
head.
fight to save him. So my question is it worth sometimes maybe not nanoing the Genji or the soldier, but nanoing the Reinhardt so he doesn't die, for example, or nanoing someone else so they do not die, or
Yeah.
a tank. For example, when we have a monkey, I mostly save it for the monkey.
ده هيكون مؤلم.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm unsure,
Yeah.
like if we have a Genji and a monkey, for example, and a soldier, on whom to use it first,
Yeah.
or when,
So, the answer to most questions is it depends. It's situational. So, for example, generally speaking, if it's just a normal Reinhardt, normal situation, he's just low HP, they have to think through, okay, generally speaking, if you nano a Reinhardt, just approximately speaking, how many kills are you likely to get?
Yeah, but if we, for example, what happened once, like if we're playing King's Row and we have Reinhardt into Reinhardt, and if they nano the Reinhardt, the enemy team, I usually, it happened like, for example, that I didn't nano the Genji, but I nanoed my Reinhardt
Yeah.
to level the playing field.
So
For the trade.
that's what I'm trying to get at here. So let's say your Reinhardt's low, you want to nano him to heal him up, okay? If you nano him, how many kills is he likely to get? Just approximately speaking, just general statement, how many kills is he gonna get?
I don't know, 1, 2.
Yeah, that's a good approximation. I was gonna say 1-2, right? Now you nano Genji. Approximately how many kills he's gonna get with Nano Blade?
Way more.
Way more, right? Maybe like 3 minimum, right? Something like that.
Just
Okay.
deliver.
While in flat, he can get 5.
Yeah, right. So in a lot of cases, he's gonna do a lot more. Okay. So, we now let's add on. So you say 1-2, right, for Reinhardt. You save a life, so let's just say 2-3. Two. It's the value of 2 to 3 people, right? Genji now is 3+ people, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Something like that. So, which do you think, generally speaking, will get more value?
The Genji.
The Genji. Okay. Now it's situational. Reiner just landed a big fat shatter, and Reinhardt's the only one who can see big fat shatter, and Reinhardt's also low. So you're gonna save Reinhardt. He's gonna be able to swing on the shatter. Is he gonna maybe be able to do a little bit more with the nano?
Well, maybe he will live longer, but the shadow doesn't last that long for him to
Yeah, but
get more
yeah.
kill.
Well, if you nano him and he's able to swing into it, that opens up for the potential for him to get a lot more kills, right? Like if everyone's shattered and you nano the Reinhardt, right? He swings twice into it and then he kills their whole team, right? Or
I
a
get
large
that.
part of them.
I
Yeah.
I understand that. My
Mhm.
question was, for example, if the enemy nanos Reinhardt
Mhm.
and he starts swinging into our team, and I know Reinhardt, and is it like a good or a bad play if I nano my Reinhardt too? So he
Sa-
like to make it like even. You
uh,
know what I mean?
same answer as what I just is what we just went over with the Genji, right? If you have another character that you can nano, are they gonna get more kills, right? If their Reiner gets nanoed and he comes in and he kills 2 people, okay, great. But you nanoed your Genji and you just won the fight, right? Now if you don't have another character, then sure, go for the Reinhardt. If Reinhardt's in a really great position to get a bunch of kills, nano your Reinhardt. The other thing to note is that just because Reinhardt's low, or just because he has another Reinhardt on him, doesn't mean he's always gonna die, right? Because you have healing, you have tanking, you have your other support, you can heal him up, right? It's not always it's always a gamble, right? Because you're not guaranteed to get kills, and you're also not guaranteed that the person's gonna die if you don't nano them, right? So it's playing with statistics, right? It's playing with what are the probabilities, what are the likelihoods, okay? If there's no other interfere, right? If the situations are neutral, if it's just average situation, the nanoing the Genji, nanoing the soldier is gonna be better. Situationally, nanoing Reinhardt is better. Nanoing the other tank is better. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so it depends on the situation. Generally speaking, though, go for the other character, right?
Okay.
All right, so really quick speed through since we took a little bit of time on that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Mechanics.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Mechanics. Probably say like a low to medium, right? Not a big thing we talked about with mechanics. Positioning. Talked about a bunch of different things with positioning. Just not I would say more of a medium priority for you to work on. Make sure you're staying within range. Make sure you're using. Make sure you can see your team. Make sure you're landing your putting yourself on off angles, right, etc. Then finally, awareness, paying attention to your environment, watching your health, watching where's the enemy team at, watching team compositions because team comp dictate your playstyle, watching just generally what's going on with the fight, what's my teammates' health bars, don't overheal, watching their danger levels, watching where's the enemy team, listening, keeping your ears open, etc. Right, all that. Probably that would go to a lower end of a medium high, as well as the ability usage. So to put that all in order real quick, number 1 probably goes to ability usage, just very, very slimly. I honestly, it's like approximately even with the awareness, but just to, I guess, give you something as the number 1 to work on. Number 2, awareness. Number 3, positioning. Number 4, it's gonna be your mechanics, and then all usage, right? Kind of number 5, but we didn't really talk about it too much. But maybe a little bit at the end there, right? Any questions?
No, actually.
Okay.
We covered everything I wanted to ask. You already said even before I got the chance to ask, so that's already answered. And the additional questions that I had, you answered them as well. Yeah. Like I did choose the option when I was like getting the coaching for the notes, because we did went through a lot of things. So is it also possible to get it all in writing so that I do not forget?
Yes, that's what the notes is. It's
Yeah.
in writing. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stop the